very near the crime scene on your way from your residence to, I guess, to lunch or to wherever you were going next?
No, I
Near the crime scene on your way from your residence to, I guess, to lunch or to wherever you were going next?
Hi, everyone. I see your comments. I haven't read all of your comments yet. I know you're excited about the surprise guest tonight who is here with me in the green room. So, just to remind you all what tonight's video is about is we are going to try, and this was a suggestion by this lovely person who decided to join me tonight against all odds. And we're going to start working on some frequently asked questions for people who are new to the Dan Markel case, and also for us, because some of the frequently asked questions are ones that really we don't know the answer yet, or maybe we'd like to know the answer to. So my biggest number one frequently asked question, and I think this would be a fun place to start, is why has Wendi not been arrested yet? But that has a lot of different answers. So, and there's a lot of complexities to this. So, having said that, hopefully you have prepared your frequently asked questions because I do want to hear from you. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Carla was supposed to help me in the chat and take down the questions. So I'm on my own. Carla has been tied up today. She's hopefully going to be here later, but I've got pen and paper. So I'm going to do the best I can to write this down. It may be that we might have to ask this lovely guest back a second time. Now, having said all of that, the second thing I wanted to do with the frequently asked questions is not just have one point of view. And there's a wonderful person who's been in the chat for years, as far as I can remember, and he can tell us how many years. And he has sometimes a different point of view than a lot of us. And sometimes he gets people mad at him because of it. But we don't want to do that tonight. We just want to have an open mind and see what he has to say. And because some people might come into this case and wonder why do you all think Wendi is guilty, for example, or why do you think Donna's guilty? She hasn't had a trial yet. So I like to elevate our thinking a little bit. And just before so with that having been said, I am going to get to the comments, but I am going to bring our guests on. So let's give a warm welcome to the one and only Cliff. Hi, Cliff. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dawn. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining me. Now, Cliff, I bet you know a lot of folks in this chat right here. I'm not sure if you can see it on your side.
Are they dropping off yet? No? Okay.
Hopefully you're not dropping off. So I'm not sure how many. I think some people, oh, hi, Carla is welcoming Cliff. And okay, and Judy knows all. Judy's so smart. Judy says she might suspect that he could be our guest tonight. So, and she says you look a lot younger.
I told her before. She called me an older gentleman one time, and I said I'm probably younger than you think. Yeah.
Quite the handsome man. Very lovely to speak with. Not at all hard to have a conversation with. Just a fun guy. So, yeah. So, okay. So what we're going to do, let me see if I can say hi to everybody in the channel, because I really do try to do that in the chat here, but I don't want to go too long doing that because I want to get down to the juicy stuff, the juicy bits. So what do you guys think of that first question? Why is Wendi? And by the way, Cliff, could you hear me doing the intro?
Yeah, sure. I heard
okay. Okay, good. Okay, so yeah.
I was going to say you asked the question how long I've been following the case. I could expand on that a little bit.
Yes, please do. Please do.
So let me give you that setup. So I followed the case it's probably right around 2 years.
Okay.
And I'll give you a quick intro of how I got into it and all that beautiful stuff. So I remember this was during the pandemic, and everybody, what were you doing in the pandemic? You're watching YouTube. So during the pandemic, I was watching the Dalia DiPolito case. I don't know if you remember that or if you heard of that one. So I'm
Yes.
watching that case, and I got through all that, watching the whole case trial, and it was very fascinating. And of course, the YouTube algorithm probably picked up that I was viewing that, and they said viewers of Wendi Adelson might want to watch this. And I saw the first thing I saw was Wendy's testimony. So that was my first introduction to the
Oh,
case. So
the
I didn't come in
2019
the first
testimony.
one, right? So
Okay.
2019, yeah, the first one. So that was that, yeah, 2019. So that was
Okay.
the first thing I saw. So I saw the whole testimony, and then I didn't really think much of it. And I could tell that Kaplan was really going after her, right? So you could tell that there was a little bit of angst between the two. I watched that, and then the next thing that came up was her police interview. So over the course of probably several days, I saw the whole police interview. And then I started seeing mental lawyers videos, and that was really what got me hooked, watching all his videos.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back 2 years. And then, of course, now I don't watch every channel, but I watch the ones that I've watched for a long time. There's too many channels popping up right now that I just don't have enough time to watch it all. But
For sure.
to me, it's fascinating. The case is fascinating. I just love it has everything. And I got hooked on it as soon as I watched the police interview. So that was over, and I was hooked. And I started watching a lot of other videos.
Wow. I love that. I love that story. It's similar to many of us. I saw the interview, the police interview on Mentor Lawyer's page earlier than that, but it was there in my head, and I followed him, but it wasn't like I immediately got hooked like you did. That's kind of cool to hear. And it has so many different facets to it. It's really interesting. So when you saw, so you said in 2019, when you watched the 2019 testimony, you felt like Georgia and Wendi had like a bit of angst between the two of them. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you can tell that Georgia didn't like her, and the questioning to maybe I'm thinking of the most recent testimony as it went on. You can tell that she thought she was guilty. She was going after her. And at that time, quite honestly, and let me just say this to everybody that may know who I am. Probably most do, but maybe some don't. And I'm sure I've communicated with a lot of them. And if I've offended anybody, I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend anybody when I give my opinion. I just try to give a fair and honest opinion on everything that I see as it relates to the case. And I could go into what my views are. I'll do that briefly before we get into any questioning. I'll just give you my view on the case overall.
Okay.
So when I look at it, in my opinion, you have to be out of your mind not to believe that Charlie is innocent. You have to be out of your mind, right? He's 100% guilty. We all know that. I don't think there's anybody that thinks he's innocent. Before Charlie's trial, quite honestly, I was thinking from the perspective of Donna, I was thinking 99% before his trial. After the trial, I'm 100% convinced she's involved. 100%. Okay. And there hasn't really been many new things that have come up in the last, since Charlie's arrest, there really isn't that much new evidence.
Correct.
There really isn't.
Right.
So I'm 100% convinced that Charlie and Donna are involved. As it relates to Harvey, it's hard for me to understand how Donna could be involved and not Harvey. But clearly the evidence against Harvey, there's not enough evidence against Harvey. So I don't really know how to gauge Harvey from a percentage wise. I would say that it's hard for me to understand how he could not be involved if she was involved. Now let's get to the prize, Wendi. As far as it relates to Wendi, from my perspective, I've said this all along. The evidence isn't strong enough to win a conviction against her. And when I look at the case overall, I certainly can see it being possible that Donna and Charlie conspired behind her back. I know most don't believe that, but I believe that's a possibility. And the one thing that I always see in the comments, I see this, you'll see this almost in every live stream. There is no way they would have done this behind Wendy's back. They had to get her approval. And to that, I say, what makes you think that? You see how Donna operates? I could certainly see her and Charlie scheming and putting this plan together without Wendy's knowledge. And
Okay.
that's my belief. I'm not saying she's innocent.
No, that's okay. So you're saying you think that it's possible that it could have been done behind Wendy's back, and you think that because of Donna's personality. Is that what you're basically saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility. And a lot of people say there is absolutely no way they would do this behind her back. They had to get her approval. What makes you think they had to get her approval? You see how Donna operates. You see how Charlie operates.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to put that in our FAQs, and we're going to put both sides. So that's great. Now, another thing, I mean, honestly, one of the reasons, you guys, that I wanted to talk with Cliff and just having opposing points of view is because I want my brain to be working. I don't want to fall into complacency when it comes to thinking about anything in my life, really. So, and what I am concerned about for me is I believe that Wendi is culpable in some way or another. I don't know when she found out, but I think she knew that day it had to have been her family. It was the first thing she brought up. But my statement to all of you is, I don't want to have my heart set on Wendi being arrested and charged with this, and it doesn't happen. So I want to insulate myself in order to do that, my insulation is to consider the possibility that she isn't arrested for murder, because she might be found out on something else, who knows what. But so are you following me, everyone in the chat? And by the way, who knows Cliff from the chat? Has anyone dropped out because Cliff is here? Let me know. I mean, if you dropped out, I guess you're not here. But in any case, does that make sense? I want to insulate my heart because I pretty much knew Charlie was going to be guilty. I pretty much am counting on Donna. But I am concerned about why Wendi hasn't been picked up. Now, having said that, Cliff, we talked about something and I thought about it today. It just popped into my head. If they had, and I've said this too, if they had enough on Wendi, they would have arrested her. However, this is a conspiracy, and sometimes prosecutors will wait to get really good information to make their case even stronger when other ones drop or get guilty, and plea deals and stuff like that. And we don't know what other evidence they have on her either. She seems pretty scared. She seems to be awfully concerned about claiming, you could see this even in Donna's hot mic moment, that I'm not involved. She was giving the statement she gave on the witness stand, and Donna's like, why is she saying this to me, right? I think that's what Donna was saying. Some people think she was saying something else, but either way, that's not a smoking gun. That's not the evidence, because even if she said, "Oh, Wendi was involved on a hot mic moment," she could take that back. I mean, that's pretty flimsy too. So in any case, let's see what the commenters say. I'm not through all of this, and thank you. I usually have my hair in a ponytail. I live in a ponytail, people. So thank you. I'm glad you like my hair. Thank you. I don't know why, because it's just like here. Okay. Thank you so much. Hi, Carla. Okay, so lots of comments. Hello. Hi, Judy. Hi, Rumble. Oh my gosh, you guys, so many comments here. So hi, Debbie. You see, you're not blocked, Debbie. I don't block people for willy-nilly reasons. No reason to block you, Debbie. Debbie knows a lot about this case. She's like spitting facts all the time.
Debbie and I have a history. We've gone back and forth several times.
Oh, okay. Cliff, a face with a name. And isn't it nice too? And I've always said to the people in my chat, if you ever want to come on with me, please come on with me. It is nice to have a face. I feel like I'm going backwards with my comments. A face with a name, isn't it? And then maybe we can not vilify each other as much I see a lot of vilification, not in our community. I think our community is great, but on social media. And I think that the more we can humanize people in chats, maybe just have conversations instead of arguments. I don't know. Just a thought. Okay. So, you guys, I've got to go all the way to the bottom here. This chat is going. So, Teresa says Donna and Charlie, yes. Of course, Charlie thinks he's innocent. He may have convinced himself of that. I
don't know if he thinks he's innocent, and I've thought of that many times. Has he convinced himself he's innocent? And I take all these jail calls with a grain of salt. They know they're being recorded, right? So they're not saying anything that they don't want the law enforcement to hear. It's all a game, right? Anything that they say on those recordings, they're delusional. All right. They're not saying, Charlie, I haven't heard all the jail calls, but the ones that I've heard, it's so obvious that he knows he's being recorded, and he's just stating things.
Charlie does.
He's trying to help his case. It's already too late anyway. He's been convicted. Right. They're not going to appeal. He might try to appeal it, but it's not going to get overturned. So he's done. There's no reversing that. So anything that they say, take with a grain of salt. Now, the hot mic moment, that's a little different issue, right? I'm confident that she didn't know she was being recorded. Now, at first, I thought maybe it was a ploy where they pretended she didn't know she was disconnected and she was saying things. But then I thought about that and I said, okay, there's no way she would be speaking about extradition if she knew she was being recorded. There's absolutely no way. So all the things that she was saying, the unfortunate thing is if the two other people weren't in the room with them, with Harvey and Donna, maybe it would have been a case cracker, right? Because she would have been speaking more freely.
To Harvey,
if she was just speaking to Harvey,
correct.
The truth would have probably come out, right? The whole controversy around what she said about Wendi, I know you were involved, or yes, you were involved, and didn't say you were involved. In my opinion, she said didn't say that. That's my opinion. If the other couple wasn't there, whoever they were, you would have heard something different. I think you would have heard something different, because there is absolutely no way that if Harvey wasn't involved, that Donna hasn't disclosed everything to Harvey, right? So she would have been speaking more freely had that other, whoever that was in the condo or apartment with them. It would have been a different story. It might have been game over right at that point.
Right. Good point. That's a shame, isn't it? Wait, whoever that is. Yeah, what was that? I forgot what that was about with the benzos. Okay. All right. So guys. Okay, Chad, are you ready? So let's what was the first one? Why is Wendi? Okay. So first frequent FAQ. I'm just make my life simple. Oh my God. Why hasn't Wendi been arrested yet? So the question is, to me, what would it take for Wendi to get arrested? It does seem like, how do I say this? We can easily say, well, Donna, why wasn't Donna arrested in the middle of Charlie's trial, right? And she wasn't. She wasn't until she tried to leave. They said they were going to arrest her. So what were they waiting for? And are we looking at a situation possibly like that with Wendi? And are they just waiting for her to make another big mistake or something like Donna did? What do you think, Cliff? What do you think, Chat?
Okay, so here's what I think. First, it's a valid question why they waited so long to arrest Donna. Because they really didn't get any new evidence, right? What new evidence did they get? In Charlie's trial, there's a couple new things that came out. The new things that came out were, it seems very likely that there was a money drop, Donna and Harvey to Charlie. That came out, right? That whole text about we're outside your place.
From Katie McDonough.
No, from Donna, right? Donna's text. Donna sent the text to Charlie, we're outside your house. And he said 10 minutes. So it seemed, so the state was sitting on that. That's not something they just came across in the last couple of weeks, right? That's something they've been sitting on for a long time. So they had that. The other new thing that came out against Donna What was the other dude? There was another key piece that came out on Donna.
Well, that the Katie said that Charlie told McBanawa that they were just at his home. And
right. Well, Katie corroborated that. So Katie did say that
right.
Charlie said that his parents were just here. Now, she didn't see them there, but she confirmed that he told her they were there. And then you have the text, "We're outside your place," right? So why would they be going there? That was the night of the murder. Why would they be going to Charlie's house before they schlepped all the way to Tallahassee to go see Wendi?
Right.
That what's the reason? There has to be a reason. And the reason probably is to drop off money. That's probably was the reason, right? That's my opinion. So
right.
that's something that they had, and the state had that for a long time. So it's a valid question. Why did they wait so long to arrest Donna? Now, I've always said the reason they haven't arrested Wendi is because they're not confident they could win a conviction. And I still believe that. I still believe they're waiting for more evidence. But then I say that, but then why did they wait so long to arrest Donna? Because it's not like
and Charlie.
Well, Charlie's a different issue, right? That there's no doubt about it that Charlie should have been arrested in 2016. And that's one of the
exactly
of this case. There's no doubt in my mind that there was some political stuff going on that prevented them from putting the cuffs on him back in 2016. I'm convinced of that. So that is very unfortunate because the evidence really never changed. The evidence from 2016 to his arrest in, was it 2022, whenever it was, the only thing that changed was the enhanced audio to Dolce Vita. That's the only thing that changed. There was the affidavits were almost identical with the exception of the enhanced audio. So one thing that always sticks in my mind, and I don't know if anybody have heard this, but Kappelman was interviewed after Charlie's arrest, and she said something that has always stuck with me, and I never see anybody highlighted. What she said was, I'm not going to say it verbatim, but she said, "I thought that the Dolce Vita recording before the enhancement was good enough and you could hear it." So I believe Kappelman, well, she wrote the affidavit in 2016. So she wanted to arrest him in 2016. It was Willie Meggs that wouldn't sign off on the arrest warrant. So he was the one that blocked it. And there's a lot of speculation on why, but he was the one that blocked it. And I believe that Kappelman wanted to arrest him I know she wanted to arrest him in 2016. And she went on the record saying, "I thought that the audio was good enough before the enhancement." So what does that tell you? Now, she said that there is taped audio of her saying that. I'm not making that up. So the reality is if you work for the district attorney's office, you got to be careful on what you say publicly. You really can't speak against any predecessor. William, she's not going to want to badmouth him because it's not a good look. It's really not a good look. So again, back to why they haven't arrested Wendi, in my opinion, it's because the evidence isn't strong enough, or the state doesn't believe it's strong enough to win a conviction. I say that, but then I think about why they waited so long to arrest Donna. Charlie, again, is a different issue.
Okay, so we do have someone in the chat, Maui Swift, who's very familiar with this case. She's saying she thinks it applied to both Donna and Charlie in 2016. Can you just say one more time, sorry, what Georgia said that got you thinking?
Well, what she said is after Charlie was arrested, she talked about the affidavit, and what she said was, we enhanced the Dolce Vita recording, but I always thought you could hear what they were saying if you really listened. That's what she said.
Okay.
I believe those were her exact words. You could really hear what they were saying if you really listened. That's what she said.
Right. And we know that, or we believe that it was the Miggs influence on what possibly,
So he was the state attorney. It was his responsibility to sign off on the warrant, and he didn't. And then he made some statements when they were gunning for Charlie before he was arrested. They said, if you want to arrest him, but get ready for some lawsuits, right? And that's a very curious statement. Very curious. So why would he say that?
Right. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So we all agree. It sounds like that. I mean, Charlie should have been arrested a lot sooner. We're
There's no
still
doubt.
talking about that this year when he finally went to trial. And I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of us are just really hanging on to this case. And it's so important because of the injustice. He's obviously was guilty. They obviously had what they needed. There wasn't a whole, I mean, the commentary from they had to have something to say was that, oh, they just got the Dolce Vita enhanced, so now they can arrest him. But we all know that. I don't know. I don't, let's not say we all know. I don't think that was really legit, but reason for not arresting him. And then Donna, again, what were they waiting for? Why wait? I mean, are they understaffed? I mean, I'm like, what is going on here? So could we maybe be even looking at a situation like that with the Wendi? So yeah, so that's curious, as you say. It's a great word. It's curious.
You would hope not. You would hope that if they have enough evidence and they're confident they could win the case, and everybody always talks about, well, we don't know what the state has. We don't know everything they have, and that's a true statement. We can only, provide our opinion based on what's publicly available.
Right.
And based on what's publicly available, it's my opinion that the case against her is just not strong enough. And you could certainly go over all the evidence, and we could talk about all the evidence. And one of the things that, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but this is one of my issues with, let's call it the community. One of my issues is whenever we talk about evidence, we really talk about a one-sided argument. You never really hear about the other side of the argument. And we all know that if they took her to trial, if Wendi was on the stand right now, if Wendi was arrested and she was on trial right now, her attorney is going to say some of the things that quite honestly, that nobody's talking about. And there's a lot of little things out there that nobody's talking about. And we could get into some of that. I think we will get into some of that when some of these questions come in.
Right. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so chat, do we all agree that and by the way, anyone who's in this chat who thinks, I mean, how long we've been on here? Almost a half hour. I have not once heard Cliff defending Wendi. So calm down and just listen, because that's not what he's here for. That's not what I'm here for. What we're here for is maybe learning something and maybe developing our own conversation a little bit for the future, because it looks like we're going to be in here for a while. We still have Donna and maybe Wendi, and gosh knows what else they're going to uncover with this whole mess. So yeah, okay. So
I'm glad you said that, because I do get accused of defending Wendi, and I don't defend her. I'm really just giving my honest opinion. I've also been accused of defending the Adelsons, and honestly, I think they're that family. Well, let's go down the list.
Well, I was going to ask you this. So you were going to tell us before we get started what you think Wendi has going against her, not for her. Why don't we hear? Because this is a really good exercise for our minds when we're looking at cases and trials. So what do you think? What are Wendi's weaknesses? What do you think?
So the case against her, let's talk about that. Right. So obviously the drive to down Trescott.
Okay.
That's something, that's a big one right there, right? That's going to be hard to overcome. When you look at it, though, it could be explained. She explained it in her police interview. Nobody buys it, but she did explain it. And the reality is, when you're starting out with a tough one here, because you're going to get me in a lot of trouble here, but I'll give you my, thought on that whole, on the drive to the crime scene. So we know that she had a stock the bar party that night. That's already confirmed, right? So she had to make a purchase for the party. So yes, you can say, well, why'd she make the purchase that day? Why didn't she make it before, the day before, the week before, whatever? She had to make the purchase. Now, when I go to parties, there are a lot of times where I don't make the purchase till the morning of, if it's liquor. All right, so you can't hold that against her. Sure, she had to make a purchase. Now, the next question is, why did she choose that particular liquor store? Why'd she go to ABC Liquor Store? Now, those that have seen me comment on this, I say this all the time because everybody says, well, why didn't she go to the liquor store closer to the restaurant? ABC is the biggest chain liquor store in the country and definitely in Florida. So when I shop, I like to shop at big box stores. And if I'm buying liquor, there are no ABC liquors on Long Island, so I don't go to ABC Liquor. But I've been to Florida many times, and I've been to ABC Liquors. And you know what? You're going to get a good price there. You know you're going to get a good price there. And then if you look at what she bought Bulleit Rye, not Bulleit Bourbon, and it was on sale. If you look at the receipt, it says, $5 off special, right? So she bought something. So maybe she knew what she was buying, and maybe she knew it was on sale, and maybe that's why she went to that particular liquor store. So you can't really say that there's no way she would go to that liquor store. She would have went to Market Square Liquors, which is in the same shopping center as the restaurant. So, and the other thing is that particular liquor store she went to, it was okay. According to Detective Corbett, it was an additional 10 minutes total to her route. It wasn't another hour. So it was additional 10 minutes. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility that she would select that liquor store. Is it curious? Absolutely, it's curious. So I'm not saying that she didn't go there to verify the job was done. That is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. It is possible. And I'll give you another theory on that of why she went there that I don't hear a lot either. And this is a knock against her. But let me not get off track. So she went to ABC. Now, the next question is, okay, well, why did she go down Trescott?
Right.
Why did she select that route? And to that, I say, when you look at a map, when I first heard, she took the shortcut. Why'd she take the shortcut? She said she took the cut through. When you look at a map and you look at Trescott, it has a curve to it. There's no doubt about it, but so does Centerville. They're almost like a direct inverse pattern, right? And then the paths are equidistant. When you look at a bird's eye view of a map, they're equidistant. Yeah, I understand Trescott has speed bumps, and I understand the speed limit is, 5 miles an hour less, or maybe 10, whatever it is. I think it's 25 and Centerville is 30, whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, Trescott has speed bumps and Centerville has lights. So you can argue that it's a cut through. So I see all these comments that, and forgive me if you're on 5 Car 5, I see all these comments.
Okay.
Trescott is not a shortcut. And you know what?
Okay. But hold on a sec. But we were going to talk about what you thought was going against Wendi.
This is what going against her, right?
Okay. I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
The route to the crime scene. I'm just expanding on it.
Right, you're expanding. Right. And I know, and Cliff and I talked a couple nights ago for a while, and quite honestly, there are some times what we were basically saying, and again, this is just to keep our minds open. It's not necessarily saying we think this about Wendy's situation, but to keep my mind open, there are some times I go longer ways just to avoid a street that gives me the EBGBs for some reason, or I don't want to be on, or whatever, and it might be slower. But so you're saying it's 10 minutes longer, right?
Well, the route to ABC Liquors is 10 minutes longer than had she gone to the local liquor store by the restaurant. That's what
right. But she said it's a shortcut, and I think that's the problem. And she set it up as that, and then in the police interview, she then said, oh, well, I go there to come to terms with the divorce, that I was having such a hard time. And that is completely
right. Well, so this is what I'm going to say about Wendi. She lies. Okay, there's no doubt about it that she lies. So when she said that, I don't believe that. I don't buy that. I don't buy she goes by the house to come to terms with the divorce. There's no way. But that's what she said. She blurted that out. And I believe a lot of the things that she said, she knew when she was sitting down in that chair at the police station, she knew she was a suspect. So if you're innocent and you know you're a suspect, you're going to act like somebody that's guilty as well, trying to convince the person that thinks you're a suspect that you're not a suspect, or you're innocent. And that's some of the things that she did. Let me just address the comment I just saw you put up, Judy's comment, right?
Judy's,
right?
Yeah, it's not a shortcut.
So I've commented on this several times, and nobody has said anything about it, right? So when Lacasse testified under cross-examination,
Mhm.
what was he asked? Does anybody remember? Well, they can't answer. This is what Rashbaum asked him. When you traveled with Wendi, did she use Trescott as a cut through? He said, yes, a few times. As a matter of fact, when we went to Gainesville, we went down Trescott. So when they traveled together to Gainesville, 3 weeks before Dan was murdered, she took that route. Okay. And he also said, Rashbaum said, didn't you also say, now this must have been during a deposition, didn't you also say she passed that house hundreds of times? And then Jeff said, yeah, well, that was a figure of speech. So she did have a habit of going that way. Now, let me be fair. Is it possible that she took Jeff down that route to say, there's my old house, to fit with the narrative of you're the fall guy and she wants to make sure that he knows the house? Possible. But honestly, if you look at it objectively, Lacoste testified that when he traveled with her, he said a few times together, they took the Trescott route when going to Point South. So it's not like she didn't go that way. She went that way.
Okay, so what else is going against Wendi, in your opinion, besides the drive through Trescott, which you do agree is going against her? Just so you guys understand, he does agree that that is going against Wendi, the drive through Trescott. So
another big one is obviously the TV alibi. That's a big one.
TV. Okay.
But I could give you multiple theories on that. And I'm just giving you theories. I'm giving you theories. Like if we believe that Wendi was in on it and we believe she's guilty, and I'm not saying she's not. Yeah, obviously the TV alibi, she's had to be in on that. There's no doubt about it. But you could also argue that appointment was made by who? It was made by Donna. So that might have been Donna's way of saying, I have to keep her busy. I have to keep Wendi busy. Let me set up that Best Buy appointment.
Okay, well, before you do the other side of it, let's just go through the points where you think it's going against Wendi, and then we can go back to the other side of it.
All right, so drive-by Trescott, the TV alibi.
The TV alibi, okay.
Those are two big ones.
Okay.
The timing of her breakup with Jeff, yeah, you could say that that's suspect. Those are the three big ones I can think off the top of my head. And then a lot of the other ones that people bring up, I mean, I could certainly make arguments the other way, just as compelling as reasons why she's guilty.
Well, and any defense lawyer should be able to do that. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. Let's just, because I'm reading the comments a little bit, Clip. Have you in the comments occasionally said you thought Wendi was good looking just to tick people off? or do you have a crush on Wendi?
No, I've never done that. I mean, to be quite honest with you, the only time I said she looked good was I was expecting her to look like I saw comments that she aged 20 years before her last Charlie's trial. And then I did say she looks good. I did say that one time. I think
she looked good too, but I'm not defending
honestly, Wendi. Then I looked a little closer, and I could tell she didn't look as good as she looked, previously. But listen, God's honest truth. She's not my type. Okay, I'm not. I would not date her.
I was going to ask you that. Are you going to date Wendi? Would you date Wendi? Are you going to date?
Not at all. Not at all. I'm happy. I'm in a monogamous relationship. I'm not looking for anybody. I'm not after Wendi. Okay, so if you think that, sorry, that's not going to happen. All right. If she came begging to my feet with her millions of dollars, I wouldn't go near her. Sorry.
It'd be pretty scary, wouldn't it? I mean, yeah. Okay, so Cliff is taking
that in the comments. I'm not. Okay.
I've seen that. No, and I've seen that not just tonight, but I've seen that before when you might not have noticed it, but I've seen people.
Well, I've seen people accuse me of being in love with her, mesmerized by her, and all that stuff. But that's, I don't take that seriously. I think some people say that jokingly. Some people probably believe it. They think I am infatuated with her. I'm not. I mean, I'm just giving you my opinion. My opinion is I don't know if she's innocent or guilty. I truly don't know. I can personally, as I stated earlier, I could see it being a scenario where they did this behind her back. I could see that. And I know
Yeah.
a lot of people don't believe that, but I can see that.
I
Now-
mean, I could see it, but it's in my viewpoint, it's such a tiny bit of a chance. And I will say, chat also help me on this. Like, what would you say your number one reason is for you all in the chat? What is your top 3 reasons why you think Wendi is involved in Dan's murder? That she knew about the murder, she somehow was either involved or approved of it, and she has been hiding it all of this time.
Well,
And what I am,
the chat, you know what the chat's going to say. I mean,
well, that's fine, but I want their 1, 2, and 3 reasons. But what I want to say is, now I forgot my thought. What I want to say is what is very bothersome to me about Wendi is her hatefulness toward Dan. Her still to this day, she does not ever miss the opportunity to disparage him, and that shows me just a level of hatred. And then the way she treats Dan's family, I do not understand that. That does not look like somebody who's innocent. Now,
okay,
is she really just defending her own family? But I'm not saying that's a reason to arrest her. I'm just saying, for me, that is so overwhelming. It's just anger, and her hatred overflows in her. It just seeps out of her skin. And I can't come to terms with that. And also, again, withholding Ruth, the kids from Ruth and Phil and the rest, and Shelly and the rest of the family, and being so mean, just so terribly mean. I don't see that as, I see that as a person who doesn't know how, like with Charlie, who he doesn't know how to behave. And she might think that she's justified in doing this. She's got all her reasons, and she's going to keep hanging on to this. Oh, they were going to put the kids in foster and all that. She knows better. She knows better than that. And so, to me, the level of hate that she has toward Dan tells me that she totally could be culpable. That's me personally. So I just want to say that. I don't think we talked about that earlier.
No, but I understand why you believe that or think that, because she's a deplorable person. There's no doubt about it. And you're right. The things that she has done to the Markel family, they're horrible. They're horrible.
Horrible.
She's a horrible person. And the reality is that, here's the reality. If by chance she wasn't involved in the plot to murder Dan, the fact that she stood by her family is really, I don't know if it's as bad, but it's bad. It's really bad. Now you could see now she seems to be turning on them, and maybe that's self-preservation. I don't know what that is.
Oh, I predicted that. I predicted that. I was waiting for that. Yeah.
Right. So she's turning on her family now, but she probably waited a little bit too long to make that decision. If she is innocent and she's turning on them now, that's probably a move she should have made in 2014, right? If she found out after the fact that my family, if she truly was not involved.
Yeah, I think she waited till Charlie was arrested. Right. Yeah.
So, back to, indicators of her guilt. Like I said, there's so many indicators of guilt that you could look at both ways. You could really look at both ways. One thing that always stuck in my head was the fact that she talked about, she told Jeff the week before the murder that Charlie looked into hiring a hitman. And I know everybody says they use the reverse psychology theory on that. That to me that's a hard sell to me.
On which one?
The reverse psychology theory on why she told Jeff that Charlie looked into hiring a hitman.
Oh,
the Monday or Tuesday before Dan was murdered. All right. If she truly was in on it, she would not have said that. And that's another thing that, again, what everybody says is, well, she was using reverse psychology.
well, she denies she said it. So
She did say it.
so she didn't say it, right?
She did say it. We know
But
she said it, right?
what I will say, I is find very believable, because that was new in Jeff's testimony. I'm not saying that he didn't say it before to the prosecution. We just didn't know about it. Again, there's probably a lot that has been said that we don't know about it. But what stuck out to me with Jeff Lacasse's police interviews, and there were 3 that we have have publicly, was that it was, first of all, he was doing these police interviews before he knew all of this. Like, the Luis and Sigfredo weren't arrested. There was no reason for him to be saying any of these things based on information he really knew. So he had there's no way he could have predicted all of this just falling into line the way he laid it out in his
He had great insight.
police interview, right? But the thing that was so believable and so strong to me is how he said Wendi, they broke up with him, like, on and off and blah blah blah, about that week, and it was that Monday, and she breaks up with them, and he walks away, and she says, Jeff, she stops him, she yells out, Jeff, are you going to be here Friday? Right? And he remembered that.
Right.
And I know you have a theory about his friends and all that, but I don't think he was. I believe during his police interviews, he was putting things together in his mind, like, oh my God, what is all of this I was involved with? And he was trying to remember, and he was racking his brains. But that was so profound to me when he said that Wendi wanted to know why would she want to know where he was going to be on Friday if she just broke up with him, and then goes home and writes him a letter, not to contact her.
Yeah.
Okay. So that stood out to me. Maui, did you have a question for Cliff? Go ahead, Cliff.
Well, I don't see the question.
No, I'm just saying, you go ahead and I'll find the comment.
So to talk about that, right. As I said, that is, the timing of the breakup is curious, but if you look at everything that had occurred prior to the breakup, there was infidelity, according to Jeff. And I have reason to believe, just based on the things that Jeff said, that she was cheating on him the entire time they were dating. And I have reason to believe, again, just based on what he said, that he was a lot more into her than she was into him.
Oh yeah.
So if you look at the relationship as it was, she didn't talk about the relationship like he did, right? So you don't really hear Wendi talking about the relationship she had with Jeff. There's really no dialogue that we have that really talks about the strength, the depth, or the problems that they had together, unless you hear Jeff's version of the story. So when you listen to what Jeff says about the relationship, right, he didn't have a lot of good things to say about her. He called her a pathological liar. He was going to therapy. His therapist said that she was a narcissist and a psychopath and a sociopath, whatever the therapist said. So honestly, if you listen to the things that Jeff said about Wendi, it paints a very, very, very nasty picture about her. And you're right. As far as that incident in the parking lot when she called him back, I really believe that it happened, but I'm not really sure it happened the way Jeff described it, right? So Jeff really said, his words were, she all of a sudden had a deep interest in what I was doing and when I was leaving. And you're going to get me in trouble here by bringing this up, but I'm going to tell you what goes through my mind. And again, when I look at this and I look at everything and I look at it objectively, I see something that nobody brought up, but I brought this up in the comments, and nobody's ever said, challenge me on this or said, you're wrong and here's why. Here's the one thing I'll say about Jeff. One, before I say anything about Jeff, I'm going to say he is a hero. There's no doubt about it. If law enforcement took the lead that he gave them in the beginning, because his instincts were dead on with Charlie. Within the first 20 minutes of his first interview, he said, don't miss that guy. And he was 100% right.
Right.
He was 100% right. And at that time, he said, do I think that the folks were involved? No, but I don't think when I forget his exact words, but he made it sound like it was Charlie. You got to look at Charlie. And I don't think he implicated anybody else in the family. He implicated Charlie. All right. Now back to that whole parking lot incident. So he said she had a deep interest in when she was leaving. Okay. In his police interview, in his first police interview. Okay. This is what happened in his first police interview. And I'm going to say something. This is a fact, and you can fact check me. In the first police interview, within the first 10 minutes, when they asked him his whereabouts on Friday, what he said almost verbatim was, I had vague plans to leave to Tennessee on either Friday or Saturday. All right? Vague plans to leave on either Friday or Saturday. Fast forward to what I believe was his third police interview. And I say I believe it was his third because I've only seen the ones that Mental Lawyer posted, and he posted 3. The third one was March of 2015. So that's what, a year and however long it is after the March of 2000. It's 8 months, I think it was 8 months after Dan's murder. What he said was, he changed his story. What he said was only Wendi knew I was leaving on Friday at 11, because he was talking about what he said was, my friend said to me, had I left on Friday, now we know he left on Thursday, had I left on Friday at 11 o'clock, it would have looked like I was fleeing the scene of the crime. And my friends told me that it might have been an attempt to frame me. He goes, and I'll never forget this word because I don't use this word, but I thought it was kind of odd that he used this word. He said, it seems far flung to me. And I'm like, okay. Because it didn't sound like he bought into that theory, but he said, I thought I'd mention it because my friends wanted me to mention it. So now he's reflecting back. People are putting these things in his head. He's reflecting back. He's thinking about, again, several months after the murder. He's thinking about that incident in the parking lot. And maybe subconsciously, he's thinking back of things that are supporting the narrative. Now, I'm not calling him a liar. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that he's recalling certain events because he's trying to be helpful. And the way he's recalling them, it really sounds bad. And again, what he said in that first sit down was, I had vague plans to leave either Friday or Saturday. And then he said, only Wendi knew I was leaving at 11 o'clock on Friday. I find that's something that, again, I in my mind, I'm like, okay, why isn't anybody talking about this?
Well, probably because it's such a small thing in the scheme of things. I mean,
well, how is that?
I find this on both sides. Like, I find that a lot of people are obsessing about certain things that are just not enough of anything to prosecute Wendi. So I think it happens on both sides. You get so far into the details because we don't know everything, and so of what we do know, that we want to just make, just overanalyze certain things. I think Maui Swift said, women can be complicated. She could not know, she could know. But to me, and I think I'm just going to answer me personally. I'm not speaking for the chat. The chat, you guys can definitely weigh in. I'm going to star some questions here. Oh my God, this chat is going so fast. I can't grab the questions. Now I forgot what was I saying. Oh,
you want me to pick one? Because I'm looking at the questions.
Just that it's kind of a small detail, and so I'm more thinking in larger, like, I want to see them have the smoking gun with Wendi. Now, one person, I'll be the judge, brought up a point about, and we only have about 5 minutes left, so we can come back. It seems like you guys are liking this, and I think you can see that clip is pretty informative. So if you guys let me know in the chat if you want me to have Cliff back. He might be nice enough to come back for a second session because we're already at an hour, 55 minutes. So two things. I'll be the judge brought up one point, and then also, and I wrote it down here, and another thing that's really common among murderers or guilty people that are later found guilty,
Mhm,
and this is interrogation room kind of stuff.
mhm.
Um, but later on too, Wendi never once inquired, did they make any progress finding who shot Dan?
Because she
No,
knew. She knew. She
she
knew.
knew. Are you
She
guys
knew.
hearing this? Are you guys hearing this? Cliff said she knew.
Right.
Okay.
Well, she knew. She either figured it out that well, okay, let's talk about all possibilities. Either she
Okay.
was in on it and she knew, either she figured it out that day and she knew, or she figured it out, or she was told very shortly after. So if she was told by her family, let's look at all scenarios. If she was involved, obviously she's not going to inquire, right? If she figured it out the day of, which again is a possibility, she's not going to ask. And if when she called her mom and her mom came and sat down with her and said, let me explain what really happened, which it's hard to believe, but at some point she knew. It's not like they hid this from her after the fact. I think they had to tell her because I think it's a possibility. And I know people are not going to follow me here. If you subscribe to the possibility, I use the word possibility, that they did this behind her back, she could have figured it out and confronted them, and they could have came clean and said, yes, we did this for you, honey. We did this for you. So if she found out her family did it shortly after because she confronted them, of course she's not going to ask law enforcement, did you find anybody? So yeah,
Okay, but if she's going to the lengths that she is to do CYA
Mhm.
text to her mother, I would think she would keep up with the farce. And by the way, that she could be prosecuted for that one.
Probably, yeah,
She could be prosecuted because this is a murder.
right.
This is a capital murder. So just
I agree.
yeah.
Listen, I'm not saying they can't get her
No,
on,
I'm not saying
especially
that
after
to
the
you. I'm
fact.
kind of
It's just
talking
a
to
possibility.
everybody here.
Right.
Yeah, well, then in hopes that she can be prosecuted for something. And I think Carl Steinbeck has talked about that too quite a bit. So I can say that with a fair amount of
Yeah.
and then there was another, yeah, so there was that, and then I'll Be the Judge talked about the practicality of Wendi being a witness for these other
Mhm.
trials. So once Donna's done, she's only got one person left to be, unless they do Harvey, but I don't think they'll need her for that at that point. But once Donna is her trial is done, they won't need Wendi as a witness anymore. At that point, they could potentially, hopefully, they'll know even more because there'll be more evidence hopefully brought out. And you're right, and everyone needs to remember this. There hasn't been a ton of additional evidence coming out over all these years. So you gotta wonder, like, what they have. We do know that the investigation is ongoing. So let me go back to I'll Be the Judge, and we're gonna wrap it up pretty quick here. And I'll Be the Judge says, using Cliff's prior analogy, no murders would ever return to the crime scene. I'm not sure what was that. What analogy was it?
Well, so no
Which
murder.
analogy?
No, I'm not saying that because
Okay, but I don't know. I don't remember the analogy. So okay, we cannot say if someone were involved, they would never, unless they're
well, what
killers.
I think what I said earlier was if she was in on the alibi, the TV alibi, why would she go to the crime scene, right?
Oh, right,
If
right,
she
right.
went to the extreme of setting up the alibi,
Well, because she's not
why?
as smart as she thinks she is.
Okay, that's possible. I mean,
She, I
listen, I've heard
mean,
everything from she was anxious, she
right?
wanted to make sure it was done, whatever. But
Yeah,
honestly, if you set up an alibi, if you went through the extreme of being in on that alibi, why would you dare go to the crime scene? You wouldn't. Now, I'll give you a theory. Okay, this is a theory that kind of implicates her. So one of the things that I always see, okay, I know we didn't get into a lot of things, right? So the whole thing about how did Katie know the job was done when Sigfredo called her? Okay, everybody has the theory that Wendi went to the crime scene and reported the data back to Miami, and that's how it got to Katie. Okay, now if you look at the digital forensics, the timeline doesn't support that theory. So what I think is a possibility is Wendi got the nod from Charlie that it was done because she left somewhere around, they had her at Aqua Ridge at 12:29. They had her
yeah.
on Centerville at 12:30. Let's say they were off by a couple minutes. Maybe Charlie called her and said, the job was done, go check it out. Because the timing of when she left was right soon after Katie got notified from Sigfredo. So I think it's more likely that if she was involved, she got the notification that the job was done, go check it out. That's what I believe. I don't believe that she's the one that communicated the job was done. Because again, that you can dispute with the timeline of the phone calls. You could easily dispute that just by looking at the digital forensics.
Okay. People who want us to keep going. David.
I'll keep going.
My problem is, for one thing, I have something in my eye. And secondly, my throat's going to give out. You can take over my channel. You can just talk if you want. Yeah, so I will limit my just you guys only because my throat is sore and I've got to be careful. I have vocal cord damage and stuff, so I have to be careful not to strain it. But I can like put questions up if you would like, and there's so many. So okay, guys, if you want me to put your question up for Cliff, just help me out here because it's moving pretty fast. Do something, just like yell at me or something, just like Capital Dawn or something like that to get my attention. And then you're welcome. And then Bruce, Q. Hi, Bruce. There you go. So okay, so and we can go back too. So why don't we talk about, okay, so remember, I want to do FAQs for people who are new to the case. So I don't know if we're going to get there.
Well, probably not. And my initial thought was when you asked me to come on was because I see that there's people that have been following this case as long as me, longer than me, and some people that are maybe a week in, 2 weeks in, 2 days in. There's been a lot more attention to the case. There's a lot more channels covering the case. So naturally, there's a lot more people that are following it. So, what I see is every time there's a live, the same questions are asked over and over again. And, maybe somebody should put together an Excel document of some kind of list of questions with possible, because again,
we should. I know we should. Well, you had some questions. You had some really good questions. Why don't we go over those?
If you want to, sure.
Okay.
Or I'll answer questions from the gallery here, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, you know what? Cliff was really good to me, and he answered. He gave like 17 questions for frequently asked questions. I'm gonna grab the QQQs. 17 questions for FAQ. So let's start answering Teresa first, and then why don't we go over to those 17 questions, and we'll just list them out. We don't have to answer them tonight, but because that'll take a little bit of time too.
Want me to answer that one?
Yeah.
What tangible evidence that against Wendi, like there is with mom and brother. So I guess when you say tangible, I know what tangible means, but in my opinion, there's really not a lot of evidence that is, if you will, a showstopper where they're going to say, yeah, that got you there. She kept herself clean from the perspective of the communication flow. She wasn't involved in any of the post-bump activity. So from my perspective, I think it's, let me get to that one next, the center of the lie. I think when you look at Wendi, it's the things that I brought up. I mean, it's the suspicion around her drive to Prescott. That's suspicious. It's the TV alibi. It's the breakup with Jeff. But again, those are not really strong arguments. They're things that raise suspicion. Now, had her brother and mother not directly been involved in the murder, if we didn't know that Charlie and Donna were involved and they never found the shooter, it's a different story, right? You would probably be pointing your finger right at Wendi, right? But the fact that we know that Charlie was definitely involved and Donna was definitely involved, again, back to what I said earlier, I can see them doing that behind her back. All right. Now let me answer Dave's question.
Okay.
How do you address the inconsistencies around her 4 statements about the trip down to Trescott, right? Now, the reality is there's no doubt about it that those statements are inconsistent. Now, was she purposely lying? Possible. Let's say she was purposely lying. Okay. Does that mean she's guilty? No. It means she knows that it's a bad thing to be caught going down Centerville or going down Trescott, right? So she could have been purposely lying, or she could have been. One of the theories I put out there was she got tripped up during that first trial. Okay. So if you listen to the words that were exchanged in that first trial, Kappelman said to Wendi under direct examination, she said, okay, before you went to the liquor store, did you make any stops? And Wendi said, no, maybe I purchased gas. And then Kappelman said, no, I'm referring to your stop at the crime scene. No, I'm sorry. Let me use the exact words. I'm referring to your visit to the crime scene. What did Wendi say? I didn't visit the crime scene. What does visit imply? It implies that you stopped, got out, visited, right? So that question tripped up Wendi. There's no doubt about it. It tripped her up, right? So then when Kappelman asked her that, and then Wendi said, I didn't visit the crime scene, I think Kappelman followed with, you didn't drive up to the crime scene tape? And she said, no, I saw the tape and I didn't turn. Inaccurate statement. No doubt about it. Now, again, she's testifying in 2019. That was the trial. That's 5 years after the murder. It's hard for me to believe that she didn't remember driving up to the crime scene tape. That was whatever, a house away. It's hard for me to believe that she didn't remember that. And she just got, she forgot about the fact that she went all the way down. But you can interpret what she said as a lie. And maybe it was a lie. All right. You could say maybe it was a memory issue. All right. And that's possible as well. And then in my opinion, the next trial, her and her attorneys realized, well, you said something here that doesn't really line up with your police interview. When you're asked that question, the next trial, let's be a little bit more specific. Then the next trial, she said, I turned on Trescott and then I saw the police tape and I turned around. Right. And then the third trial, she stuck to the original story. And again, it was a little bit wordy. She said, I saw the tape and I kept on going down Centerville. And then Kappelman again said, didn't you approach the tape? She goes, no, I made a K turn. So again, I mean, I think these are all, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, I'll say that it's possible she lied. It's possible she was confused. It's possible she misremembered. These are all possibilities. Now, does it look good? No, it doesn't look good. And why doesn't it look good? It doesn't look good because everybody's pointing it out. And everybody thinks that means she's guilty. Because she lied, she's guilty. If she lied, it doesn't mean she's guilty. She might be purposely trying to distance herself, but that doesn't mean she's guilty, right? In my opinion.
Awful lot of coincidence. Okay, this is a good point. Dave Starks, there was a morgue truck there. We do know there was crime scene tape, right? So there was a morgue truck already there when Wendi.
Oh, okay. Has anybody ever seen a morgue truck for a doctor? Well, so
okay. Let me ask. Hold on. Let me ask the question.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I want to just ask, shorter questions, like so we can get through more of these. If she saw a morgue truck and she gets pulled into the police station, I mean, if she saw a morgue truck and she didn't stop and get out of her car, what does that tell you? I mean, just tell me in one sentence, what does that tell you? I'm not trying to get, I just want to get through. Yeah.
If she saw the morgue truck in Danny's driveway.
Oh, he was kidding about the truck. Okay. Sorry.
I mean, that was the first time I saw that question. I know he's kidding, but if she saw a morgue truck in Danny's driveway and she didn't inquire, yeah, you got her, right? You got her.
Okay, and one of the things you said earlier too is something you guys, I've thought all along, somebody else saw that shooting, like somebody else confirmed. I don't know if it was earlier that maybe Luis didn't know that Sigfredo had a little short text with I don't know, but like just with a number or like a yes or whatever. Somebody else knew, I think, had eyes on that because, how do I say this? She could have known or not known, whatever, but she could have known that they were going to attempt to murder him.
Wendy could have
Okay.
known that. Sure, she could have known that.
She could have
Absolutely.
known, but she didn't know if they were successful, and they weren't. He was
Mm-hmm.
still alive.
Mm-hmm.
He was still alive.
Right. She could have.
So my thing is, you mentioned that maybe Charlie knew. How would Charlie know
How would
if
Charlie know the job was
if he
done?
wasn't there himself, and if she
He
wasn't there,
wouldn't. He would have to wait till he got confirmation from Katie, or if Wendy was involved, from
or
Wendy.
was there
But
somebody else
but you would think that
with
we
eyes?
know that obviously we know Charlie was involved. We know Katie was involved. We know Sigfredo Lewis. That's all a given, right? So it's obvious that Charlie was waiting for confirmation from Katie, and Katie was getting confirmation from Sigfredo. So I think it's pretty obvious that the chain of communication from
I
the
think they knew
perspective.
before an hour and a half, though, because of something you said earlier too. I think you felt like it was possible that she already knew. That's why.
That
Okay,
Wendy already
let's put it this way: if she knew what was going on and was
Mhm.
supposed to go on, and she went there to confirm the
Mhm.
hit,
Mhm.
I mean, which I think is really stupid, but let's say she did, or maybe she just curiosity killed the cat
Mhm.
type of thing.
Right.
How would she know when? I mean, just all of it. Just it seems like there was somebody else. I've always thought, you guys, that there was somebody else with eyes on, or she was out of her car
Yeah, I don't
running over there. I don't know.
I don't think there was anybody else local in on it besides potentially Wendy. When you do something, it's the more people involved in something like this, the more likely it's you're going to eventually get caught, right? You can't have, I'm not a murderer. I'm just trying to use common sense. You want to keep the, the party small, right? The bigger the more people involved, right? The more potential you're going to get somebody's going to trip up, right? And that's why I believe that it's a possibility that Donna and Charlie would say, don't tell Wendy. She's going to muck it up somehow. She's clumsy. She's going to mess it up, right? And, honestly, if you really want to be honest, if she was involved, guess what? They would have been right. They would have been right not including her if she was involved, because what'd she do? She said, my brother looked at hiring a hitman the days before. She told the Best Buy technician that went to the house that this was a gift my brother bought me because he said it was cheaper than hiring a hitman. She told Isom the same thing. So yeah, she, at the end of the day, if she was involved, she did a lot of stupid things that put a bullseye right on Charlie's back, right? Those
Well,
would be really stupid things to do if you were involved in a murder, right? To do those things.
right. Why do you think she should know better than to go in there without a lawyer?
No, not necessarily. You're talking about the police interview? No. So hold on. Let's say she was involved.
That makes me more suspicious of her.
Not at all. Not at all. Okay, first of all,
She knows something happened.
Let me ask you a question. Did Lacoste show up with an attorney during the police interview?
Sorry. Okay, I just had to.
No. Did he? No, he didn't. Why didn't he? Because he's innocent. Okay. So if Wendy showed up with an attorney, if the police went to the restaurant and said, we don't know what they said, but obviously they told her she has to come to the station. Something happened. We have to bring you in for questioning. Will you come with us? If the first thing she said was, I'm not going without an attorney, right? She's guilty as sin if that's the first thing she said. Okay? It's common sense, right? If your ex-husband's murdered, and the police come and intercept you somewhere and say, we have to talk to you about something, and the first thing you say is, I'm not talking to you without an attorney, to me, I would be highly suspicious. She would be my number one suspect. And obviously she was a suspect. They wouldn't have picked her up if they didn't suspect her of being involved. So she was a suspect day one, no doubt about it. So if she called for an attorney that first day, it doesn't look good. So,
well, what we learned about Charlie, about this family, and in Charlie's trial and the recent calls, is they all thought they were smarter than everyone else.
of course.
And
if Wendy was involved, if she was involved, That's why she would have went without an attorney, because she's
Right.
smarter than everybody.
Right.
I agree with
Exactly.
that.
That's
I
the
agree
point.
with that.
Okay, I'll be the judge. Wendy's testimony has been huge. I'm not going to read it. You guys can read it. I'm going to keep my throat. Okay. And then I think, did we do this one?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. We don't know what tangible. Do you know of anything tangible?
I mean, anything that's tangible, there's really, in my opinion, there's really nothing that is that makes it a closed case, a shut and closed case. There's nothing out there there's a lot of little things, right? Like look at Carl's list. He has 125 reasons that Wendy's guilty. If you look at all those things, you could, a lot of them, I believe, are motive, right? And there's no doubt she had motive. There's no doubt about it. She had motive and a lot to gain. Once you get beyond that and you start looking at all these little tangible things, the Yowl t-shirt, the bullet bourbon, the visit to the crime scene, there's a lot of little things. You add them all together, and I think that's the main argument people make. There's too many things.
There's too many coincidences, right?
There's too many
150,
but when
right?
you boil it down, there's really only a few key pieces, right? And the few key pieces are based on a lot of speculation.
Well, we'll see what they have. Okay. So Cliff says there isn't, and then I'll be the judge was clarifying what she said earlier. We don't know what a killer would do or say, and that's really important to remember.
Well, I agree with him there. Look, just go back to that comment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I agree 100%. We cannot say what killers would never do. Okay. So I agree with that. We can't say what killers would never do, right? So,
Okay.
but I can't say, right, that she would never say. She might have been involved, and she still may have said that. Okay, it may have been for all the reasons that people state. She couldn't hold it in. She blurted it out. She has no self-control. I agree; those are possibilities. And just so everybody understands this, I just want to make this point crystal clear. I am not saying that she wasn't involved. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. I hope you don't take what I'm saying as I'm saying she's innocent. I'm not saying she's innocent. I'm saying that there is a possibility. Okay. There's a possibility this was done behind her back. Okay. And if it was done behind her back, she may even have been told the morning of the murder in that 18-minute phone call by Charlie. He may have said, Wendy, I got to tell you something. Okay. Remember that present I was going to get you?
Yeah.
That was cheaper than the TV?
Mm-hmm.
You're getting it.
Right. Right. And so this just leads me to remind everybody about why I invited Cliff here tonight. I mean, it's been on my mind anyway, but sorry, I keep hitting the mic. I hope I'm not breaking your ears. This channel, I've always tried to take the viewpoint of being a potential juror. And what you're supposed to do as a juror is you're supposed to be neutral and have an open mind to what both sides are saying. Okay. And that's what the point of my channel is. And that's why, and I really enjoy having this kind of dialogue. And I also am not the kind of person who's just going to cancel someone or block somebody because I disagree with them or don't like them. That's just not who I am. I want to be inclusive. I mean, not to a fault, but honestly, just to help us all learn. So I'm enjoying the chat here, but I just think that was the point right there, Cliff, that you really articulated so well. You've articulated everything very well, but just that it's a possibility. And as a juror, so what I like to do is think, what are these jurors going to think? Let's say they never heard about this case. They never heard about Dan's murder. They don't know who these people are. Believe it or not, we're so submerged in some of these trials, but some people aren't. They haven't heard of it, or they heard that he was shot, in 2014, but that's about all they heard. Mm-hmm. So just again, thank you for saying that, Cliff, because that really encapsulated.
Right. And I'm seeing these chats go by, and let me just address Tennis Girl. She's right.
Okay.
I mean, this is exactly what a defense attorney will do, right? What the things that I'm saying are exactly what is going to happen. And honestly, if you listen to what I'm saying, and again, I am not saying she's innocent, but if you listen to the things that I'm saying, there is a case that could be made for all these indicators of guilt. And guess what? You have to convince a jury, right, that she's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah,
and the evidence against her is not as strong as Donna and Charlie. There's no doubt about it.
Right. But even with Charlie, there was a lot of all of these circumstances that colored it, that made it even like, okay, there was this, but if it was only that without all the color, as we call it, or I could call it, and this is a lot of color with Wendi, but we don't have the tangible, as some people are saying. And you have to define tangible. That might mean something to somebody else, but something that can be taken
Well,
into a
she's
court
saying
of law.
concrete. What's concrete?
Right.
What concrete evidence against Wendi? And the reality is the best pieces they have against her are the drive to the crime scene, but that doesn't show guilt. It shows, you have to ask, why did she go to that particular liquor store when there are other liquor stores closer to the restaurant? So it's a valid argument. There's no doubt about it. That's a big piece. Okay, that's a huge piece. The breakup with Jeff is a huge piece, but they don't have things like, obviously, if there were things like, if you can prove she was packing prior to the murder, if you can prove these types of things, those are showstoppers. I haven't seen anything like that, right? If you can prove that she was planning her move prior to the murder, you have something pretty solid.
Well, there was some pretty information that Jeff gave that implied that, and that's not being talked about either. Also, just add to those, your three things: drive to the crime scene, the TV alibi, the timing of Jeff Lacoste. Those are biggies. But I'm just going to continue to say, because she continues to lie and be cruel. And whereas if she's innocent, I just would think that she would, at least by now, after all these years, tone it down, lady. Like, just tone it down.
Her personality. Listen. That's her personality. She's not a good person, Dawn.
I'm just saying, no. She hates Dan Markel.
Of course she hates Dan.
And she had a motive.
You know what? The feeling was mutual too. The feeling was mutual. He hated her. She hated him. They got divorced, right?
He wanted to get back with her.
You think he liked her after that? She put him through?
I don't think he hated her. Hate is a
I guarantee he hated her.
No.
I guarantee he hated her.
I'm sure. No, not like that.
How could you not hate her? How could you not hate her? Do you think
he didn't murder her? I'm talking about hatred that can make somebody murder someone.
Well, that's
he didn't hate her to that level.
Of course he didn't want to kill her.
I'm sure he didn't like it.
Right.
Okay. So I really well, we're gonna go 7 more minutes, you guys. I'm trying.
Well, let me clarify.
I just wanted to comment.
Let me clarify my statement about he hated her. She put him through hell. There's no doubt about it. So I'm talking about Dan. She put Dan through hell. Wendi put Dan through hell, right? So what do you think his feelings before the end? Do you think he loved her? Do you think he had anger towards her?
I'm just not gonna take that bait. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I don't need to answer that because
I were him.
I need to answer that because Wendi wasn't murdered.
No. I'm saying that when Dan was alive, okay, after the divorce,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether Dan hated her or not. He's murdered.
She definitely hated him. I'm sure the feeling was mutual.
I am sure he was very hurt. Right. And Angela says the same thing. Who's dead? Okay. So I'm not going to give you that one. That one, I'm just like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're not talking about Dan. That's my point. We don't that is off.
Okay.
Off limits.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. And I know my voice.
I know that comment angered people, but I'm thinking of the way I would react.
I get it.
If that was me, if a woman put me through what she put him through.
Well, the same with Jeff, but Jeff was still wanting to get back with her. Did you see how love started with? So I'm just not going to speculate about that.
What are Jeff's feelings towards her now?
I don't know. We didn't ask him.
Right, and I guess hate
doesn't matter.
Hate's a strong word. I'll take that back. But he's a better man than me.
You said hate.
Because if somebody did that to me, yeah, I would probably hate that person.
I don't care. What I'm talking about is Wendi.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm talking about is Wendi.
She's a horrible person.
Who is a named co-conspirator in the murder of Dan.
Certainly
and she continues to spew hatred. That is motivation. That's all. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. We don't want to talk about Dan. I agree. That's just not where we're going. And same with Jeff. Okay. Okay. So I was over trying, and that last comment, I just wanted to make sure, Cliff, sorry, I put it up for a while, but I enjoy a great debate. Go ahead and read that. And
okay, I bothered that Donna may hire a Tallahassee attorney. Then I thought about it and I said, let Georgia have some good competition and crush them. That'll be sweeter. Yeah. So obviously there's speculation out there that they are looking to hire a Tallahassee attorney, and they probably should, because if you got to see your client, right, you don't want somebody that's 8 hours away. So having somebody local on staff would probably be a wise thing to do, and I could certainly see that happening.
okay, Dave says, interesting that she can remember buying a bourbon for a stranger. And it is she has very selective memory of things in great detail, but not of things that she should remember. So again, she's lying on the stand a lot and saying she doesn't remember things that she obviously does. She says she doesn't remember what she bought her dad for the birthday was the previous comment. And then he was saying, but she remembered this. So it was convenient to her and to her story. And it does seem to me, and this is all I'm going to say, we're going to wrap it up. Cliff, would you come back? It sounds like
if I'm invited,
okay.
Listen, I know.
Should we invite Cliff back, you guys?
People are put off from my comment about Dan hated Wendi, and maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I am thinking about how I would react if somebody.
I don't think Dan was a hate. I don't.
You're probably right, and he's a better man than me. That's for darn sure, right? Because
she's a hateful, spiteful person. He never, he from all accounts is very loving, and that's why I was like, I don't want to go there.
I agree.
Thank you. Of course, he was hurt. No doubt about it. He was crushed. Okay, and Carla says yes. I guess the chat is saying, whoops, I can't even keep up with this chat. Every time I click one, it goes to somebody else because it's going too fast. Okay, all right. So, yes, and Dan had moved on, thankfully, and I really feel for Amy. I really do. Stay cliffhanger. And Lady Cymbeline says we would like you back. That's awesome. Right. We can't project our own.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have made that statement. I do think of all the things that she did to both Jeff and to Dan, and they're horrible things, and to the Markel family. It's horrible what she put that family through. It's absolutely horrible what she put that family through. It's a shame. It really is a shame. She really is. Listen. I'm arguing the case of why we have to be more objective. And again, that doesn't mean I think she's innocent. And as a person, as a human being, she's a terrible person. I mean, how do you do that to your in-laws, right? To the grandparents of your children? And it's kind of if you look at the position she's in, she's either directly involved or her family was involved. So it is listen. I don't know that there's anybody in the chat that has been in this predicament, right? Where
I hope not.
Yeah, but it's if you really think about the dynamics of how you would react, and this is not by no means saying that she did anything right or wrong, but if you were in that position of her, it's horrible. It's a horrible, horrible thing.
Okay, and the reason I brought it up is that we know that people who murder generally speaking, have some profiles, and this hatred it just falls right into that where, and we didn't really even get to see on Charlie's that he hated Dan. There wasn't a lot of evidence of that. There wasn't a lot brought up about him hating Dan personally. So I think we will have that to look forward to in a future trial. Probably not.
Other than a few statements by Jeff, who said that, and that,
and him laughing when they were reading the terrible emails when he disparaging.
Yeah, that's horrible, right? I mean, it shows you okay. I am not a psychiatrist, but that the fact that a grown man in a courtroom setting hears the prosecutor talk about the words that Donna used to describe Dan, and to him just start smiling and laughing. is it a surprise that this man killed somebody? That this man put a plan together to kill somebody?
Right.
Clearly, there's something wrong with, if you look at the family, like the only one that I really can't profile is Harvey, right? But Donna, that's a deranged person, deranged. Charlie, deranged. Wendi, absolutely. There's something wrong. There's something wrong with all three of them. There's no doubt about it. There's something wrong with all three of them. Harvey, I don't have enough data on, but the reality is that, if he wasn't involved, he's in the mix. He's in the mix.
Yeah. There were some accounts of Harvey trying to like start a fight.
Well, I heard that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it does seem like he's got that in him. Yeah, for sure. There's some cute jokes about cliffhangers.
Listen, you can make a lot of better jokes about my last name, right? I've heard it all.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't sure if it was real or not.
That's real name.
That's cool. All right, guys. I said, okay, so we got an extra half hour from Cliff and my voice. So we will come back. We will definitely come back. And
I don't even think we got to the frequently asked questions.
We got to one. Well, we got to one, but what we do have is an agreement. And I think these are part of the frequently asked questions, as I mentioned. The drive to the crime scene. What's that all about? We need to come up with a short answer, not like a hour explanation. The TV alibi, timing of Jeff Lacoste, the fact that Wendy's a lying liar, lying, whatever. She lies to lie. She's just a liar, and that she's incredibly cruel.
Yeah, and I think everybody would agree on those points.
And those are big things as to why we think Wendi, because the first question I said was, why isn't Wendi arrested yet? What would you say? And I think we really kind of went through that. And then you brought up the possibility behind Wendy's back. The fact that there are 150, and I have 150 reasons Wendy's involved on my channel too, and all through just from the police interview. I haven't even added in her testimonies yet. And so the fact that there are 150, the fact that Carl is saying that it's not like one or two, the fact that there are 150, that's a lot. And so even if they're all somewhat, super, super circumstantial, there's still 150 of them. And that's not plausible. There are so many coincidences. And then you take her hatred and cruelty on top of it. If she's not involved, if she just found out later it was her, she was at Charlie's. Okay, I'm sorry. I was going to end, but let me just say one more thing. She testified at Charlie's. I'm sorry. At Charlie's testimony. She testified at Charlie's trial that her family wasn't involved. She was sitting there at Charlie's trial. Come on. I'm sorry.
That's again back to why she's a horrible person and she's a liar. There's no way.
But she couldn't possibly. So what you're saying is the possibility they went behind her back. That doesn't add up. Why would she say that?
I'll tell you why. Okay.
No, I can't. Whatever you say, no. It's like that did it for me, because she's supposed to be smart and educated, and you would think after how many years, 9, 10 years, she's had figured this out. She's still being cruel. She's still lying about these important things, and she's sitting up there pretending. You know why she said? I'm going to tell you why she said it. Because she is trying to convince the jury. She's practicing for her own trial. All she cares about is herself and how she comes across. Yeah. And she wanted to come across to that jury as, I don't know anything and whatever. And so that's it. And she thinks she's covering herself. But how is she going to say that at Donna's trial? My family's not involved. Her brother's in prison now.
Right.
How can she say that? So that's not gonna. How's she gonna answer that question now?
Lied. There's no doubt about it. That's a lie. But she painted herself into a corner. Once she said in the first trial that I don't talk about this with my family. I've never discussed it with my family. That's a lie too, obviously. So the fact that she went on the record saying, I was advised by my attorneys not to talk about this case with my family, and I haven't talked about, complete lie. No doubt about it. It's a complete lie. All right. So she painted herself into that position. So she had to keep going with that story. And you're right. The fact that in that last trial, she said, I'm glad the people that did this crime are in jail. Right. Which totally implies that her family wasn't involved, which we know she's not stupid. OK, if she wasn't involved, if she wasn't involved, she knows her brother and at least her mother and potentially a father were involved. And again, I'm not saying she wasn't involved. Either she was involved and she knows that they're all involved, or she wasn't involved and she knows her family was involved. You can't sell me on the fact that she believes that her family is innocent. She doesn't. There's no doubt about it. She lied. She lies a lot. But the fact that she lies doesn't mean she was in on the murder. I concede that she's a liar. I concede she's a horrible person. But those two things don't necessarily mean the act wasn't done behind her back. Right. And she could have found out the morning of, she could have found out the day of, she could have figured it out. She could have.
No, but we're talking 9-10 years out. That's my point. I didn't say it proved that she was involved. I didn't say that it proved that she was involved. What I said was, why would she?
Because she had to, because she had previous testimony.
Because she's been lying.
What is she going to say? Well,
she's been lying
all
along.
I confronted my mother about it, and she said she wasn't involved. She's not going to say that. She's going to maintain that I don't talk to my family about it. She's going to stick with that story because that's the best story for her, whether she was involved or not involved. The best story is to maintain that you don't talk about it. Because guess what? If you're, being called on a state subpoena to testify, and the question is asked, well, Wendi, when you spoke to your mom, what did she say to you? I was told not to speak about it. Guess what? That shuts everything down. So whether or not that was the advice of her attorney or she came
Donna was caught on the hot mic saying they asked John Lauro and he said, no, he did not tell her.
Guess what? Honestly, what Donna said was, Wendi said, she talked about not getting advice from her attorney, not to discuss the case. And Donna said, and we didn't. But you know what?
No, but then she then said they asked John Lauro and he said, no, he did not tell her she could not.
Right. And then Harvey kind of contradicted that a little bit because what he said was, and I took it as a contradiction. She said he didn't say that. And then Harvey said, well, he said he didn't confront her. So it sounded like there may have been some, that's what he said. So I don't know. I don't know if he was correcting her or if he said that additionally. But when she said that, Harvey jumped in and he said, well, he said he didn't confront her. Right. So, it really doesn't matter. I mean, even if the attorney told her.
Well, we all know it's not true. We know.
True.
Right.
She lies. She lies.
Okay. So for next time we get together, thank you again for being with us and chat. You guys are great. Thank you for being here. The next FAQ, this is a good one from David. Why did Donna say that Wendi has to become a great actress? And we're not going to answer that tonight. We know because I wanted to think about this one and I have already thought about it. I don't know if you know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I do know. And that was not in response to testifying in the
No.
Right. That was about
and what's interesting, I'm just going to tell you where I'm going with this. And I got because I can't not talk while I'm doing the questions. Georgia asked Wendi about their conversation on the drive up to Florida, one of those drives up to Tallahassee from Miami. And I think that, and she asked, did you discuss, this whole $1 million, what did you discuss any of this? So
the bribe, the $1 million bribe.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly how it came.
Mm-hmm. Well, she asked if she presented that to Dan and she denied presenting it to Dan. That's what she was asked, right? Because that's in an email. So the fact that
I know that, but I think that this question, why did Donna say she has to become a good actress if she said she wasn't even going to offer him the $1 million. It's an interesting.
Well, right. The reality is maybe she did present that to Dan. We don't know, right? She could have. She said she didn't, but you can't believe anything.
Probably knew he wouldn't take it.
He probably wouldn't take it, right?
Yeah, because he's not like her. He's not hateful.
But then again,
he loved his children.
Why, if somebody's going to offer you $1 million to move, because it wasn't that just the kids move, he could have moved too. So maybe he would have taken it if it was presented. You don't know. And maybe she did present it. Maybe she didn't present it. She said she didn't. But again, you can't believe what she says.
Right. And Wendi did look at Charlie, and they had some little stolen glances if you were looking carefully. For sure. I actually picked up on one of those. It's in one of my shorts. Right. And thank you so much to the moderators. I really appreciate you helping with the chat. I really think that you chatters had a good time tonight. I hope so. And what's OMG?
Oh my God.
What did we miss? Is there news? Wouldn't it be fun if Wendi got arrested right while we were going live? We'd be all like, okay, I don't know
guess what? When they start cracking these 3 iOS devices that they got, the 2 iPhones and the iPad,
right?
They may come up with something, right? So if she is arrested in the next few days, they found something good, right? If listen, I think it's a possibility. It's a possibility that there's going to be data on those devices, because if you listen to the hot mic call, Donna was asking for help on the computer stuff, right? From apparently Wendy's new boyfriend is an IT guy, right? He's a computer guy.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
Oh, yeah. So the hot mic call, if you listen to the hot mic call, she's pleading to, what's the guy's name? George. She's saying, I asked George if he could come help me with the computer. I really think that she wanted this guy to help her wipe out some data, because she probably knew that they were going to confiscate her devices. And you know how iOS devices work. All right, I have one here. Guess what? When you get a new phone and you go to the cloud and you download all your stuff that you deleted still could be in your SIM card, right? So there could be evidence on those devices that is damning, okay? There could be evidence that is finally going to nail Wendi, okay? Because if she was in on it, they had to slip up somewhere. I mean, if she was in on it, she did a really good job covering her tracks. Donna, not so much. Charlie, not so much. But Wendi did a really good job covering her tracks. So maybe those iOS devices are going to be what nails her, right? If she was in on it.
Yeah, it could very well be. Let's hope so. I mean, let's hope they get something really solid. I didn't think he did, and I'm sorry. I should have asked you that in the first place. I'm so sorry. Nope. Yeah, so he doesn't have any content. He just. I am not a
YouTuber. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just a regular.
Chatter.
I'm just a regular guy that got caught up in this case, and you do see me comment. Some people don't like me. I think some people might tolerate me. There's a handful that like me, and there's a lot that don't like me.
Well, I think
if you don't like me, that's okay. I'm just giving my opinion. That's all. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm just telling you what I think and how I feel, and the way I look at data. Right.
I don't try to convince anyone of anything either. When I'm on my channel, I just talk. And okay, so we really appreciate you coming on, and what I have learned about you over the last week is that you really know this case. You know what you're talking about. You're fair. You're not mean. You're not insulting anyone. You're not yelling at anyone. So, so everyone in the chat saying, thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Cliff. I don't dislike Cliff.
Oh, thank you, Julia.
I don't dislike you, though. I don't think
thank most. You, Isabel.
I'm glad, because I just wanted to take a chance and,
isn't that what this is all about? I mean,
the reality is, for me, it is.
Let me make a statement, right? One, I heard something that Ruth said, and it has bothered me a lot, right? She said that a lot of these, she appreciated, this was during the session with Vinny, is it Vinny Palatino from Court TV, right? I don't know.
Vinny Palatino.
Whatever. Palatino? Yeah. Okay. Palatino. She said to him, I appreciate the fact that there's so many channels covering this case, but I wish they would focus on the victims and not the crime,
Right.
or more on the victims than the crime.
Right.
So you have to say that, listen, you know, it's horrible what Ruth went through, right? What Shelley went through, what Phil went through, it's horrible. And what the kids are probably going through and what they're going to be going through as more unfolds, right? So that is the true travesty of this case, that there are a lot of victims out there, and the victims extend beyond the ones I just mentioned. You're talking about kids from Rivera's kids, Katie's kids. There's so many victims out there, and that's what makes this so horrible. All right. And this, I'm going to make this statement, right? And maybe some people won't like this, but I'm going to make it anyway. What is the best possible outcome moving forward? What I think the best possible outcome is information comes out that completely exonerates Wendi for the sake of the two boys. Because if, let's say they find information on that iOS device that proves she's guilty, that's going to be the worst possible thing for the boys, right? So as much as this is such a hard concept to grasp, if somehow evidence comes out that exonerates her, wouldn't that be the best possible outcome for the boys?
Right.
Right. Now, I don't know how if that does happen, which again,
I don't think it's possible, but it would.
You probably don't, and a lot of people don't, but let's say it did happen.
No, I'm able to think that. I'm able to feel that, but yeah,
Well,
like you said, she had
to
at least have figured it out shortly afterwards, right?
Right.
So
and no, I'm not a PR person for Wendi, and I've been accused of that, and I see that comment.
Yeah, what's up with this? What?
Right.
Where do you come up with this?
Let me just can I
yes
have some something to say about that, right?
Sure.
So I don't know if I should mention names. I'm not going to
don't mention names.
Somebody on another YouTube channel said that I was a paid PR guy for the Adelsons. That is not true. Okay, that is not true. That is not true. And of course, somebody also accused Tim Jansen of being a paid guy, and they also said that, well, if he denies it, he's going to deny it because he has to deny it. I'm telling you, I am not a paid PR guy. Okay, I followed this case for 2 years. If I was a paid PR guy, would I be bashing the Adelsons? Right? And you know what? If you want to say that that's exactly what a guy that is paid would say to convince us, fine. I'm not. Okay, I swear on my youngest daughter's life. Okay, how about that? All right, and I wouldn't do that. I'm not a paid PR guy. Okay, I'm just telling you what my thoughts and opinions are. I'm sharing my thoughts and opinions. That's it. So,
Thank you.
Again, I was accused of that by one of the channels. And, quite honestly, I thought it was a little bit out of line. Right. And the reason that person suspected me, if you listen to what that person, I'm not going to give the gender, but if you listen to what that person said, somebody told me.
Right. That's a rumor. Right.
Had hundreds of thousands of comments out there on this channel. All right. Now I emailed that person that said that, and I said, get on a video call with me, a private video call. I will gladly show you my YouTube history. Right. You can go into YouTube Studio, show you history. And at that time, I had 1,500 comments total lifetime from 2006, and that spanned this case, sports, which is something that I follow, politics, all different things that I'm into, right? Politics, sports, and different other things that I'm into, right? And so to make an accusation like that, it's really, I'm not going to say I was hurt or offended, but I think it's ridiculous. So when I see a comment like that I'm a paid PR guy, I don't know if you're making that statement because of the things I'm saying right now, or because what you heard about me, right? So not true. If you
I don't know where, we shouldn't make statements about people. Let's just try to keep this. Let's try to keep this a little bit more intelligent. No, that's fine. That's fine.
I caught that comment, and
I caught it too, and I didn't know what it was, but obviously
I'm not upset at that particular person. But listen,
pretty sure you wouldn't say she's a pathological liar if you were a paid PR guy, but okay. I don't know who starts rumors around,
maybe you would say that to be more convincing, right?
Yeah.
but I'm not. I'm saying I'm not. All right. Listen, I've been following the case for you could go back and look at my history. I've been commenting on this case for 2 years, right? I've been saying the same thing for 2 years. I haven't changed my position. I've been saying the same exact. The first post that I put out there on this case was really the same thing that I'm saying now. It's the same thing. I've never changed my opinion.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we're good. We're good, Cliff. Thank you. Cliff
Okay.
has been nothing but a wonderful gentleman, and it's been very fun to talk with you to prepare for this. And you've been great tonight, bringing it, really bringing it. So let's keep working on these FAQs and get through this part and get through the, maybe like you said, what I was thinking is, if I'm going to do a FAQ, I don't want just one side of, the things that I know or the things that I feel, because I am very, very interested in seeing Wendi brought to justice, because I am absolutely convinced, right, that she is responsible in some way for this. I don't know how, and I'm not saying that there is enough evidence.
Right.
I'm kind of wondering if they had all this on chart. I mean, we know the political thing, but it's taken way too long. It breaks my heart to see the Markels suffer in this way. Now, I try to balance things out. Another thing I did this week, and a lot of you guys probably haven't seen it, is I did a video. It's about 5 minutes long, and it's dedicated to Phil's victim impact statement.
That was moving, yeah.
Oh, you saw it? Okay. So please take a look at that. And in fact, I should put that at the end, but I'm not going to, because I wasn't prepared. Now we're almost to 2 hours. That's really great. You guys are great. Thank you, chat, so much. And again,
like it's been like 10 minutes.
Thank you to the moderators for helping me out. And yeah, it was civil. Very cool. That's what we were hoping for. And, I try my best, and I appreciate you all so much. And I'll be back in a week live somehow or another. If my throat isn't too bad. I am improving, you guys. I am improving. So you guys are you're so great. You're not what LM, I don't know what he said. There's so many things going on in this chat. Okay, I will stop. Thank you, Cliff.
There's a good comment for you. Do you plan to dissect the jail calls? Good content.
Not sure. You guys, I was planning on moving on to the Crystal Rogers case and the other 4 people that were murdered in Bardstown. It's been hard to pivot. So I don't know. I guess I could take a poll.
Well, there's going to be a lot of content there, but what I would say about that is what I said earlier, where they know they're being recorded. So what do you expect them to say? Anything that they say is, if you heard, like, I didn't hear them all, but I heard enough of them. The hot mic one is the best one because she doesn't know she's being recorded. But if you listen to the other ones where she's talking to Charlie, all he's really doing, I mean, to be quite honest with you, like a lot of the personal stuff, I'm not really, that doesn't really do anything for me. I don't even like hearing that. It's actually, I heard him talking to his child, and that I don't even like hearing that kind of stuff.
Right. Now, some of it is a little too personal.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for me. In fact, it makes me, because you listen, Charlie is a horrible person for what he did, but his child shouldn't be exposed that way. I mean, that type of stuff, I struggle with why they would make that public. And I know the Florida Sunshine Laws, are out there and everything's public, especially with a convicted murderer. But do we really want to hear his child like that? Yeah,
I am so glad you said that, because I do feel a little creepy listening to some of it. Some of it I'm very interested in, but that, as you said, and I heard some people picked up on some really personal stuff. I fell asleep listening to some of it. Yeah, it's like, oh, I missed that. Thank God. I don't want to hear any more than I have to. So
one thing that I picked up that's pretty interesting is if you listen to some of the calls that were made and some of the things that they're saying, it's pretty obvious that the whole family is very in tune to what the public is saying, right? Because I heard a lot of statements by his girlfriend Bree and the other girl Janice. I heard them saying things like, guess what? Everybody believes this. Everybody's saying this. They were talking about his performance during the trial. Even his mom and dad said, everybody thought you did good. People were surprised. And really, there was some of that sentiment. Some of that sentiment out there, like, wow, because it looked like a slam dunk case. And obviously he got convicted. And
Yeah. Yeah, Donna was like, they were devastated. He explained things so well, and why don't they just understand what he explained? And it's almost like it's crazy because it's almost like she wanted. It almost sounded like she believed what he was saying. Yeah, so
well,
maybe
no,
it was
I don't think
all,
they believed it,
all
but I think they were putting on that act. And that's why I say, like, those
just,
jail
yeah,
calls, take them with a grain of salt. They're not really, know they're being recorded. They're not gonna talk about the crime in any way that's going to be favorable to any of the prosecution, right? They're gonna stick to the same lie. They're gonna stick to the same lie. Like I said, it would have been awesome if that hot mic moment was just Donna and Harvey alone, because that might have cracked the case open, right?
yeah,
If those other people were there, you might have heard, "You idiot! Why did you convince me of this?"
right,
Right? And Wendy,
right,
how dare she? How dare Wendy say? How dare Wendy not visit Charlie when she was involved? Right? Had
right,
that happened, guess what? The cuffs would be on Harvey and Wendy right now.
right. I don't see any of them flipping, because I honestly think they have enough, and they're going to get more on the final person that has not been arrested yet, or two, might be Harvey.
Mhm.
Without, and if Charlie was going to flip and get anything out of it, he would have been before the verdict. And I think when the verdict was just before it was being read was when he realized that was it. He was no longer going to be of use to the state of Florida or to his family, which is really sad. Really
Mhm.
sad. I mean, that was so sad. That was just, I can't, I still am really, I don't like to see anybody like that go down. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it, but I'm just saying that's sad. And
Mhm.
I don't, I don't see why they would have to do that. And then with Donna, she's too old. They're not going to let her go free.
No, no, she's
She's going to have at least 20 years anyway.
she's
That
not
puts her at
she's not
92
getting
years
off.
old. Right.
She's not.
So
There's
I don't
no
see, she
way.
has no
And she's
motivation.
guilty of sin. They're gonna convict her. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it.
Yeah.
There's no talking around it. And the interesting thing is going to be, what is going to be her strategy? Is she going to go with this extortion strategy that she was part of that? To me, that's, if she goes with that, it's a sure conviction. Okay. In my opinion, the only way she gets off is if she basically says, Charlie did this. I tried to cover his tracks. She would have to, obviously, now he's holding on to hopes of an appeal. So that's why, like, if they would have arrested Donna weeks prior, right? Or at the same time, she probably would have had to go with the same strategy. Now, does she go with that strategy? I don't know. In my opinion, if she goes with that strategy, she's done, right? The only way she gets off is to say, yes, I know my son did it. I tried to cover up for him. Now, if she
Right.
does that,
Right.
how does he react to that? Does he say,
No, I think Charlie would be okay with that because
yeah,
he's their savior.
possibly,
He's screwed. I mean, he's stuck.
right?
I mean,
That
he's not going
it
anywhere.
doesn't
It doesn't
help him
matter.
either way, right? It doesn't help him either way, right? If she throws him under the bus, it just reduces the chances of an eventual appeal down the line, right? Which he's probably hanging on to that hope, right? I did hear him say that there's no way I can appeal. I heard him say that one of the calls. I think I didn't listen to all of them, but I did hear him say that he knew he was cooked. He knew it was done. He knew there was no potential for an appeal because nothing was done procedurally. Nothing was done wrong. The judge didn't make any mistakes. There are mistakes that could have been made that weren't made, but it looks like there's probably no opportunity for an appeal. They can try to appeal, but there's nothing that really is grounds for an appeal that's going to overturn the verdict, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, he's not. No, he had, he had one of the best lawyers that money could buy. No, he's done.
Yeah,
He's done.
and you know what?
I mean, the only thing I would see, he's not going to do, they don't need him to do anything for Donna. They want Wendi. If he flips, it would be
Right.
on Wendi. I don't buy into this thing about Wendi, Donna has to be dead before he does it. I don't buy that.
Well,
I think he
I wouldn't
can
doubt
be,
that, because listen, if he finds out in that call, that hot mic call, if what she said was true, if what Donna said was true, and Wendi hasn't visited them in 9 years, that's what she said. She hasn't visited, which was surprising to me that Donna said that Wendi hasn't visited us in 9 years. She doesn't care about Charlie. She never asked about Charlie. Once that news gets back to him, if she was involved, guess what? She wrote him off. She 100% wrote him off. If what Donna said was true, she's written him off, right? So if she was
And I
involved,
think he knows it because he's like, did
no,
Wendy?
not necessarily. No, no.
Let me finish.
Mhm.
Okay, I got it. Okay. When I heard Charlie say, how's Wendi doing?
Mhm.
You know, if she says it can't be more specific, if Donna couldn't be more specific with him about that, then she's taking it really bad. And Donna, he knows.
Well,
He's got to be, first of all, even if he doesn't know, he suspects.
he might suspect.
And now he knows. And now he knows because he has a tablet. He's going to know.
Does he have access to this does he have access to public information like this? Like, will he
will.
have the ability? Okay.
He
So
will.
if he eventually hears that hot mic call, he's 100% going to know. I don't think he knows right now, because what Donna said was, I lied to him. I told him when.
Well, I know she did, but
Right.
the fact that he has to ask,
not necessarily.
I think, I know not necessarily. I'm just saying, most likely with that family dynamic, he's looking for her approval and stuff, and then he's not getting it. He knows.
Right. Well, if you look at it realistically, if she was involved, I don't think he would. He knows that he messed up, right? So he may feel guilty. Now, she messed up too, right? So if she was involved, she messed up with implicating him and telling the hitman joke, telling the hitman story. Look at what he did, okay? Look at who he hired to do this crime, and look at how reckless they were. So if you really want to, look at this realistically, they got to be looking at him like, you're a moron. Now, Donna's not going to say that because he could easily bury her. But what a moron he is, right? And that the family has to be thinking that. Look at who you hired to commit this crime. Okay, you hired. Now, whether or not they knew Katie was the one he hired directly out of the gate, or whether they found that out later, he probably told. I wouldn't doubt if he told them, "Oh, sorry, don't worry, I got people that do this. Don't worry, it's all I got it under control. I'm the maestro." He may not have given them any details about who he was hiring. When they figured this all out, and they saw all the public information, you saw all the missteps that Sigfredo and Rivera did. It was a comedy of errors, from shooting the floorboard to doing drugs, cocaine and alcohol throughout the 2 trips. I mean, what a nightmare, right? If you think about the way this thing was, the way they performed that murder, right? It's really sad to think about that, right? I mean, he hired killers to execute a person, and if you look at the way they executed the murder, it's really it's so sad to even talk about this, but those guys were, I hate to use the word incompetent. They were incompetent, right? Look what they did. I mean, first of all, it's horrible to kill somebody, but the fact that they had all these missteps and they were doing drugs and alcohol the whole time. I mean, it's quite honestly, it's surprising. It took them so long to figure out who did this, the way these guys conducted this murder, right?
It was a mess. Yeah.
It was a mess, right?
So
how do you think? Because Wendi, Donna, and Harvey know the complete story about how this thing happened and all the missteps, and the fact that they hired these guys that were really, quite honestly, he hired professional killers. Were they really professional killers?
Okay.
They were killers.
I have one other theory. You guys want to hear it before we go? Because we do have to go after this. I have a theory that Wendi wanted a didn't really trust Charlie and was concerned about these people, right? That were pretty, like, he didn't know them very well. He didn't vet them very well. And that she had another idea about who should do it. And that's part of the that reason that's also could be that she felt like she would turn him in if she had to. Because he listen to him. I mean, I feel like there were other, and then there was conversation. I don't know that it's been 100% confirmed, but that the Adelsons paid $50,000 to somebody else. So I do believe that it's super. Thank you for apologizing, TNT. Thank you. Let's keep it clean. I appreciate that. I just feel like it's possible that Wendi wanted something higher leveled than these guys that she didn't know about it. And I can't remember exactly why I was thinking that, but there were times in things that she said that gave me the impression that she knew how to do it better, or she didn't trust him, and that there was maybe some argument even before it happened as to how it would happen. And so that gives her a way out.
Possible. So going on your theory, let's say she was involved, and let's say Charlie clued her into the way he was taking care of business, right? And then 5 days before the murder, the plan was in motion. She was very nervous, and that's why she told Jeff, right? As everybody suspects, as a backup plan in case it gets dicey. And then it was reverse psychology, right? And that's a theory out there. There's a theory out there that whole move to tell Lacasse was her way of getting out of it, because she knew that Charlie would screw it up, right? So if things go bad, she can always say, why would I tell Jeff that Charlie looked to hire a hitman if I was involved? The reason that I believe it's an indicator that she was innocent. So if it's reverse psychology, it's working, right? I'm not saying it's a ridiculous theory, the reverse psychology. I'm just not bought into it. That's kind of what I'm saying. But it would be effective, right? If what you're saying is true, and she had reservations about the plan, and she asked about the plan, and she asked about who he was hiring, and she didn't think that whoever he was hiring was capable, or she didn't trust Charlie, then maybe she did put out those little subtle hints to Jeff that Charlie did look into hiring a hitman just as a backup plan in case she's implicated, and she could say, why would I tell Jeff that if I was part of this plan? Because again, I will admit in my mind that if you're involved in a murder, you don't tell your boyfriend at the time that my brother looked into hiring somebody, knowing that your brother is actually going to kill this guy, right? Would you really do that? The only logical explanation, if she was in on it, is reverse psychology. It is a logical explanation if she did do it. Because if she did do it, if we find out she did do it, it really intrigues me to understand why somebody would think that way, to implicate the person that was part of the plot and say to somebody that he looked at the hiring hitman, right? In a very chilling and serious way, as the way Jeff states it. And I believe she told him that. I believe 100% she told him that. The real question is why, right? Was it reverse psychology, or did her spidey senses lead her to believe that he was serious about it and he was plotting to do it, and she was conflicted about it, right? So
he also said that she had been crying uncontrollably out of the blue, all kinds of weird stuff. So I mean, certainly, I would like to think she was having second thoughts about what was going to happen, but I mean, she could have just blown it. It just seems to me like it doesn't seem like the whole. I think sometimes the simpler answer is the more likely, just more likely. Yeah.
Occam's razor. Yeah. Now you talked about earlier. We talked about indicators of guilt, right? And that's another one. You can't dismiss that, right? The fact that Jeff did say that during the first attempt, she got into the fetal position. She was crying. She had an upset stomach. He had to go out and get her the Pepto-Bismol, right? So there's reason to believe that she did know about that first attempt, and that's why she was acting that way, right? Now, you can't really prove that's why, but it's a reasonable theory. There's no doubt about it, right? It's a reasonable theory. Now, what I will say to that as well is, so Jeff, again, upon reflection, going back and just trying to piece this together, and he did a really good job of that, of taking his notes and going back and looking at text messages, looking at emails, recalling things that happened.
Also,
well,
Jeff,
there are many things like that remember he just remembers it. That's curious because it happened around that first attempt, right? I believe that she acted that way all the time, and it just becomes, if you will, magnified, because it happens to be that she was acting really bizarre the week of the first hit, or the days around the first hit, when she probably acted really bizarre and flaky throughout the whole relationship.
It appeared to be different, according to Jeffrey. The other thing he said was, which I find really suspicious, is she claimed she wanted him to come over, and then she claimed that she locked her house.
The yoga day. Yoga day.
She claimed that she locked herself out of the house.
Right.
And so he came over, and they had like their date on the porch. She didn't want him in that house, possibly for a lot of reasons. Maybe she was packed up.
Right. I recall that differently. And you might be right, but I thought that day she locked herself out of the house, and he was going to come over to meet her, right, on the porch. I thought they pivoted to the yoga class instead. Or she called him and said, "Oh, I got into the house."
I think the yoga class was a different night.
Maybe you're right, but I thought when she got locked out of the house, she called him back and said, "I got a locksmith. I got in. Just meet me at the yoga class. Meet me at the yoga class."
Either way, she wasn't locked out of the house. She didn't have to call a locksmith, and he didn't go into the house.
Right. So the theory there is, as you said, she had the boxes packed already, and she was getting ready to get out of town. Now, yeah, that's possible.
She didn't want him in there, right? Because a lot of
different night. Okay. I could be wrong, right?
Yep. So that was.
If she was in on it, you might be right, because there is a lot of suspicion that
that's weird. I mean, he said
she
was losing her keys a lot and stuff like that, but and also Jeff was being very fair to her. He wasn't like, oh, he was like, well, she could lose her keys and stuff like that, but that's another indicator that's like, well, why didn't she let him in the house? Why did they stay on the porch if she found the keys?
Yeah, I have to.
And he said that was a little weird.
So they actually had a meeting. They actually had a date on the porch.
Yeah, I think that's
what I missed that. I thought it was.
I think it was the night before yoga, because they were going to have a date and blah,
plans to do that, and then she called him back and said, "Oh, I got in. I called a locksmith. I'm in. Don't worry." And I thought they met somewhere else, but again, I could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay. We're now at 2 hours and 15 minutes. Yay us! Yay chat! Yay moderators! Thank you all so much. And especially to you, Cliff. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I was shocked and flattered that you invited me on, but I'm glad
I know you were shocked. I'm like, hey. Yeah, no, and again, anyone in the chat, yes, and we have confirmed this also. Whoops, Debbie has confirmed this too. She knows it. She's got a better memory than me.
Okay, so it was the day before the yoga session. Okay, I'll go with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was something I remember.
Debbie, are you still mad at me?
Debbie, don't be mad. We love you. Okay. All right, guys. Yes, it was an awesome chat. Yeah. Oops. TMT. Charlie can never go to the beach walk or his dog. Oh, Bubbles. Or grab a midnight snack. Yeah, things we take for granted. Yeah, check out the latest video I did. It was like a 5-minute if you're interested. Yeah. So, and I think we're gonna call it a night. Yes, and we can get along. See, we proved it. We proved it, and that makes me happy. And no, we don't all have to get along, but it's nice when we can learn from one another. I think that's, the jokes keep coming. The jokes keep coming.
I always use that as a shortcut.
Wait a minute, Kezzy Times. We've got a guest here that disagrees with half of the chat. What are you talking about? Like what? Okay. I don't know what that's coming from. Okay, guys. Well, we'll figure out a date to come back. We're going to work on these FAQs and have a great weekend. It's already the weekend. It's have a great Sunday tomorrow, whatever you do and wherever you are. And let's just see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
It's going to be interesting. Okay, hold on one sec, Cliff, before we go. Okay.
Scene on your way from your residence to, I guess, to lunch or to wherever you were going next? No, I did not. Crime scene